10th of March 2025, and we're broadcasting live from Radhakund. On the third day, or the second day of our actual parikrama, we've had three sessions together. So yesterday was Antardvip, was a long day. I tried to pack in all those things very quickly. But today is Kolodvipa and Rudradvipa. So it's a much shorter day because we always traditionally in our parikramas go to Rudradvipa on Ekadashi because it's a shorter day. So we conserve our strengths because we're not getting the grains, etc. So we'll have a kirtan and then we'll go to Kolodvipa for a few minutes and then we'll come to Prodamaya, then Jagannath Das Babaji, and then Nirdoy Ghat. And there's one other place. Oh, yeah, that's just those places, I think it is. Okay. Namo Vishnu Padaya Aradhikaya Priyatmane Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jai Shishi Guru Garangagan Havaka Kiridhari Radha Govinda Ji Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Param Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Astotar Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaurikishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Vedantacharya Ki Jai Jai Rasik Siramani Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Arupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gauda Parasada Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Surupe, Daita Surupe, Prema Surupe, Sahajabi Rupe, Nijan Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swabila Surupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurunavartino Kalo, Samarpaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundaratuti Katamba Siddhipita, Sadakradare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Tarabo Vinidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparada Lakshay Shittascha Karma Ditarangamadye Kripa Mahitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Gapi Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Rate Tvam Naimam Charantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandabar pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimat Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varga and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Pancha Kalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Ekadashi. Today, Amalaki Ekadashi, 10th of March. So we begin from in Kolodvipa, and perhaps we're beginning from the Devananda Gaudiya Math. So Devananda Gaudiya Math is in that area of Aparad Banjan Pat, where aparads are easily forgiven. So the aparad of Devananda Pandit, who was actually a great scholar from birth, and would speak on the Bhagavatam, but he allowed his students to throw Srivas Thakur out of the assembly when he became in ecstasy hearing the 10th canto descriptions of Vrindavan Leela. And also Gopal Chapala offended Srivas Thakur. He put all those items for Durga Puja on his step. And what did Srivas Thakur do when he came out? he called immediately all the brahmanas, come, look what I do. I do like this is my worship. But they all knew he was paka paka paka. Srivas Thakur is Narada Muni. So, but he called all the brahmanas to see. He didn't try to hide it quickly, secretly like that, but he called them all. And then they called a sweeper, take everything away, put in the Ganga. So this Gopal Chapala, he immediately suffered leprosy as a result of that. And Gopal Chakravarti, he offended Haridas Thakur in this area also. He offended him in by Panihati, where Raghunath Das, Govardhan Majumdar and Hiranya Majumdar, they have their residence there in just north of Calcutta. But he came to the Ganga afterwards, and Mahaprabhu forgave him. So these three personalities, Gopal Chapala, Gopal Chakravarti, and Devananda Pandit, were forgiven there. So it's called Aparad Banjan Pat, is where the Devananda Gaudiya Math is there. So we're coming out of there, and we're walking towards Rudradvipa, which is on the opposite end of Navadvip today. So first of all, we come to Prodamaya, or Paramatala. So originally, this manifestation of Yogamaya, who is her expansion, Durgama, is the consort of Shivji. So Vrida Shiva and Prodamaya, or Paramatala, were residing together on the eastern bank originally in Mahaprabhu's time. But then because of Ganga's waters spreading, then they became physically separated. Of course, they're always in union together. But Paramatala is situated in Navadvip now. And as we walk along, we come to this place first. And that's like the huge Ashwatha tree. And inside is the temple of Yogamaya. We should understand one thing very clearly, that Yogamaya is a single tattva, but she has many expansions. Like, for example, in Vrindavan, Purnamasi is that Yogamaya, and also Vrindadevi is that Yogamaya. They're both the same tattva, but they have different pastime activities to perform. Similarly, Ekanamsi, who I'm going to describe in a minute, she's also coming from the womb of Yashoda. She's the second child after Krishna. So Yogamaya is one tattva that has such a powerful influence in Krishna's pastimes, in bewildering Krishna himself. Krishna allows himself to be bewildered by Yogamaya into thinking that he's a little baby, helpless, and Mother Yashoda can bind him. He's feeling completely helpless. It's Yogamaya who arranges for him to think like that. Krishna is Mugdata, he doesn't know he's Krishna, and he's Sarvagyan, all-knowing at the same time. But it's Yogamaya's potency. Yogamaya comes directly from Chit Shakti, Swarup Shakti, Sri Radhika. Sri Radhika ultimately is the manifestation of Yogamaya. But Yogamaya has many pastime personalities that represent her in the different activities that Krishna wants to perform. For example, when, as I've just described, when Krishna took his birth in Gokul, there were two children. The second child was Ekanamsi. Ekanamsi, Eka, Amsi.
Same answer.
Yes, same Amsa as Krishna, coming from that Chit Shakti. And this is Yogamaya. But when she is taken by Vasudeva across the Jamuna into the dungeon, she becomes Durgama, or Bhadra, or Kalima. She becomes like this. She manifests in many, many forms. Ambika also is another name for her. So when Kamsa goes to smash her on the rock in the dungeon, then she rises up and manifests her true divine nature. And Kamsa worships Durgama. So this is Kanksha's Ishtadev. He's suddenly seeing in front of him. So he becomes very humbled and offers prayers and so on. But this is an aspect of Yogamaya also in that form. And then that form, Ekanangsi, she spreads out across India in about 10 different places. She manifests in 10 different places. And also from Mathura, Subhadra is manifested from the womb of Rohini Ma. When Vasudeva comes out of the dungeon for a while, he has 18 wives, Vasudeva. So one of his wives is Rohini Ma. So she conceives a daughter in Mathura. This is Subhadra, who becomes the Yogamaya personality in Dwarka eventually. Subhadra is that personality who Krishna wants to encourage Arjuna to actually accept as his wife, which he does. You remember the pastime when Arjuna is impersonating a priest, a devotee, and Baladev, he hosts him, and then Arjuna captures Subhadra, and Baladev becomes very angry because this is Baladev's sister from Rohini Ma. So this is again Yogamaya. So Yogamaya is acting in so many different forms and ways, and it's like Lord Brahma knows that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But it sometimes seems that Krishna and his friends, they don't know that. Isn't it? How is that? How is it that Mother Yashoda doesn't know that Krishna is God, but Lord Brahma knows? How is it? Yogamaya. It's always Yogamaya. How is it that Yogamaya is able to arrange for the Sakis to have a replica of themselves with their husbands when they run to Krishna in the forest? They don't plan it. Yogamaya, by Krishna's desire, wants to pacify all the gopas. Normally, parakya is a very abominable activity in the material world and creates a lot of friction and anger even. But if we see Krishna's pastimes, there's no friction, no anger in the parakya pastimes. It's beautiful because Yogamaya arranges everything. She arranges for 300 billion gopis to dance with Krishna in a tiny little area of Vrindavan, a village of Vrindavan. It's inconceivable, achintya, completely. Yogamaya, but part of that inconceivable manifestation, it covers the other Brijabasis. Nobody knows what's really going on, not even Krishna. Krishna, when Mother Yashoda, for example, is trying to bind him, Krishna becomes bewildered. First of all, Yogamaya is arranging for all Krishna's desires to be fulfilled. Krishna wants to play with his friends. He wants to steal some more butter. Mother Yashoda can't bind him. Krishna has these two strong desires. But then when he sees Mother Yashoda's submissive surrender and her exhaustion, her flowers falling out of her hair, then she concedes, okay, Krishna, his Karuna Shakti comes. And when that Karuna Shakti comes, then that Aishwarya Shakti of not allowing him to be bind disappears. So that Karuna Shakti will be the vital ingredient that Yogamaya will manifest and unmanifest according to the nature of the activities. It's like in Braj, Purnamasi, she's the elderly personality that all the Brijbasis honor and worship, Purnamasi Devi. She's like a tapasvi. She lives by the Jamuna in a little straw hut, and everyone honors her very much. She wears white, and she's an older lady. But Vrinda Devi is also Yogamaya, and she performs in the Ras Leela pastimes. She's the audience for the Ras Leela. Someone has to clap and cheer when they're doing such beautiful arrangements. So that's all Vrinda and all her Sakis, her duties. So these personalities, they're all coming from Yogamaya. So this Prodamaya, where we've come today, embodies all of these appreciations that I've just described. When we're there, we can think and remember of the potency of Yogamaya. She is the eternal consort as Durga Ma or Parvati Devi of Shivji also. And right next to the temple there, immediately next door, there's a huge Shiva Lingam. It's a very big Shiva Lingam. It's not as big as some of the Shiva Lingams in Navadvip, but it's a very big one. There's one on the way just past Krishnanagar, a place, and it has so high Shiva Lingam, you have to go on a staircase. Yes, huge, huge, and so many of them. So Shivji is worshipped especially in Navadvip along with Durga Ma, and the Durga festival in Navadvip is the biggest Shakti festival in the whole world. There's no bigger festival because most of the residents are uneducated. Actually, Shakti, of course, is Sri Radha. Ultimate Shakti is Radha. So we are Shaktas, but we know her name as Radha. This is actually who she is. But they're not worshipping her as Radha. They want something. Durga Ma, oh please fulfill my material desires. And they build so many beautiful temples out of cloth everywhere during that Durga Puja time. And it lasts for about 10, 12 days. And people come from all over India to try and get some material benediction. It's a bigger festival than Gorpanim. It's horrible to live there because they all get drunk. They all have their horrible music going and it's not comfortable. They start off in the morning with very sweet prayers, but then by the evening time, they just lose it completely. And you've got that high techno music and it's horrible. Anyway, this is Durga Puja in Vrindavan, in Navadvip. So Prodamaya is really celebrated, of course, on that day. She's celebrated completely on that day. And so we're there in Prodamaya, and we're remembering all these aspects of Prodamaya. Swarup Shakti is actually manifesting from the Sangvit Shakti. We spoke about the Dham itself is manifesting from Sandini Shakti. But Prodamaya directly is coming directly from Swarup Shakti in the form of the Sangvit Shakti, the knowledgeable understanding. In Braj, the Sandini Shakti manifests all the objects of existence, everything that is in existence, including the bodies. And the Sangvit Shakti manifests knowledge of the relationships. That's Sangvit's purpose. So Yogamaya is acting in that way. She's creating the relationships. And the Hladini Shakti is the taste of those sweet relationships in Braj. She manifests as Hladini Shakti. So these three Shaktis are prominent. So we remember all these things as we come into this very, very crowded, congested, small area of Durgama or Purnamasi Dev or Yogamaya that we see today. So we all come here and we offer some pranam and we offer our prayers to Purnamasi to please make us, our faith, our shraddha, completely fixed on Brajendranandan Shyam Sundar in Vrindavan. We don't want anything from this material world at all. This is not our agenda, slightly. So this is Yogamaya. So this is the first stop we make today. Very beautiful place indeed. Very ancient place. Well, at least 500-600 years old. But there's a mood of age when you come into that tree and you see inside the tree itself. It's very beautiful. And we remember, of course, Vriddha Shiva, who we just saw yesterday in Antadweep at the Yoga Pit itself. So we connect these two together. So going from that place, then we proceed along, and then we come to the Samadhi Mandir of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So Jagannath Das Babaji, he originally had his Bhajan Kutia in Suryakund for many, many years Jagannath Das Babaji lived to an age of 144 approximately. He was very, very old Babaji. And he was considered the most knowledgeable of all the Vaishnavas at that time. That's what we call him, Sarvabhauma. Sarvabhauma Das Babaji. Sarvabhauma means he's most worshipable by all the Vaishnavas. And he had his bhajan here in Surya Kund. And then in his later years, much later years, when he was about 100 years old, he came across to Navadvip to take mercy of the most merciful Odarya Dham of Sachinandan Gaurahari. And he was always carried in a basket by Bihari, was his servant's name, carried in a basket on his head. And he carried him all the way from Surya Kund to Navadvip Dham. So he was residing here in, it's on the border of Rudradvipa and Kolodvipa, actually, his place. And it's described how he's an Uttam Bhagavat, he's a Siddha. And he would see all the animals and creatures of the Dham as being absolutely worshipable. And he once told his disciples, oh, we're going to have a festival with all the pranami that I've got, buy a whole pot of rasgullas, etc. Then the disciples were saying, oh, shall we call many Vaishnavas? He said, no, no, we'll call all the cows and all the dogs. We will feed them. They are the real residents of the Dham. These hypocrites who walk around dressed like Babajis and so on are thinking of so many other things. They're not thinking of their eternal service or seva to the divine couple or to Sri Mahaprabhu. So, and also when he would take his prasadam, there was a litter of 7 puppies in the ashram, and he would insist that all these puppies come and take from his plate first to their full satisfaction. And the disciples would always try and hide the puppies, but he would count their heads. He couldn't see, his eyes the skin, eyelids was over his eyes, so he couldn't see. If he wanted to see, he had to hold them open or put sticks in them to open them up. So all the puppies would come to his plate and he would count their heads on his fingers to make sure the puppies were there. And he had that vision that these dogs, they're born in the holy Dham. They're in the dust of the Dham, in a humble body. So he would honor them as such, because an Uttam sees everybody on the highest platform. He doesn't make any judgment on higher or lower like that, especially the animals. So he would perform these types of pastimes. And there was a time when his disciples, they actually came to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and they said, we've come to learn bhajan from Jagannath Das Babaji, and he's putting us in his garden. He's making us garden eggplants and tulsis. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you are so fortunate to be growing these vegetables in the holy Dham under the guidance of Jagannath Das Babaji. You should be grateful for that. You have to do seva to earn the adhikar to perform bhajan. Unless you're doing seva to Guru, how will you ever get the qualification to serve Radha and Krishna? Guru will check your seva. If your seva is not compatible to where he wants you to go, he wants us only to go to one place. He wants us to become understanding of what is Radha Dasyam. This is all Guru wants. He only wants that. So he will encourage us in our various sevas to become fully Sharanagat. First, because Guru is there. So it's simple to actually have a relationship with someone who's directly there. Krishna is just in the mind, in imagination, sometimes, unless he becomes realized through our bhajan. But for a lot of the part, it's just what we're thinking about, contemplating, but it's not a reality. But Guru is present. Guru is like the ambassador representing the country, etc. He's representing the holy Dham. So to serve Guru in any capacity, sweeping the floor, anything, is going to purify the heart of our contamination through 8,400,000 species of life. where we've actually come. We've come through all this, and we've got this human birth now, this incredible, fortunate human birth, and we're residing in the Holy Dham, and we're hearing about Radha and Krishna. We're hearing about Mahaprabhu. We have the holy name. We have so many supports for our bhajan, but the principle is always Guru Nishta. My Gurudev used to describe regularly. Guru Nishta is the backbone of our devotion. Without a backbone, how can body function? The body is finished, right? You're just on a bed all the time, you can't do anything. So Guru Nishta is the backbone of our devotional focus and seva. Without that, then nothing can transpire. So we come to Jagannath Das Babaji, and we hear many bhajans and we glorify him there. So now we walk on from there, and we come into the realm of Nirdoy Ghat. This was the fourth place I was remembering. So Nirdoy Ghat is such a heart, what do you call, a heartly place. Nirdoy, no mercy.
Nirdaya.
Yes, no mercy, no mercy. So this is the place where Nimai Pandit jumps into the water and leaves his mother and leaves Vishnu Priya. Very young wife, 15 years old, just married, and leaves her forever. Dives into the cold water in the month of Magh, which we've just come through. And is that door shut? Yes, it is. And goes to Katwa and then takes sannyas from Keshava Bharati. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Navadvip Bhav Taranga, he describes very beautifully how he's performing his bhajan in this area. And as he's rolling in the dust there, he's aware that one goddess has come. And he offers prayers to that goddess, and that goddess is very unhappy. And she says, I was with 5 other sisters. This is Sarupya, Samipya, Sharsti, and Sarupya. These 5 liberations, I was with them. You have to shut that door. Just ask them to keep going. Move forward, back around. So, this last goddess is called Nirvana, and she's looking for liberation in Goradam, but that isn't available for Nirvana. So she has to become purified in the understanding of Gora Ras. What is the nature of Goradam, of Swetadvip Dham? So she's praying for that mercy to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this is Nirvana. So not even Nirvana has a place in Swetadvip. But this pastime of when Mahaprabhu, he leaves his family and wife, is really heartbreaking. Jagannath Mishra has already left this world. Lakshmi Priya, his first wife, already left this world. And when my Gurudev describes this, how the leaves on the trees, they fall in separation when they remember this pastime. And Mahaprabhu, he accepts that Loki from Kolodvipa Sridhar. He gives him one Loki and he gets some milk, makes a beautiful preparation. Then he feeds his wife very nicely, Vishnu Priya. But Vishnu Priya, that morning, she had lost her nose ring. And she had stubbed her toe badly when she went to the gut. And she feels these are very inauspicious omens. So she's a bit hyped. She's a bit thinking something not good is going to happen. This is inauspicious. So when Mahaprabhu is acting so pleasantly with her, which he's never done before. He comes in, gives her a garland, and then they eat the sweet loki together. And Mahaprabhu is speaking very sweetly to her. And she thinks, is Mahaprabhu, is my husband, Nimai, is he going to leave me now? Because there's a little rumor coming from Mukunda Datta and different personalities that Mahaprabhu might take this sannyasa ashram, he might renounce the family. That rumor has got out. So she's not sure. And she's determined to stay awake the whole night. But then it's described how again, Yogamaya comes in like stones on her eyelids and just makes her go to sleep. She cannot stay awake. And then Mahaprabhu, he quietly changes his dress, just puts on a gamsha, basically. It's cold winter. And then he comes to the doorway of their courtyard and Mother Sachi's sitting there like a stone. And she's not even crying anymore. She also knows what's going to happen. And then Nimai, he circumambulates her 3 times. He offers pranam and prays to her. She has no one. Her son, Vishwarup, has already left. Jagannath Mishra has left. She has her daughter-in-law, Vishnu Priya. That's all she has in the world. And he leaves. Mother Sachi is the greatest mother of all mothers that are in the incarnations of Krishna. She is the embodiment of Kushalya. She is the embodiment of Yashodama. She tolerates even more than Yashoda does. Krishna was very naughty, stealing butter all the time. But Nimai, he comes into the house, remember the pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavat, when he asks for a garland to worship Ganga Devi. And his mother doesn't have it immediately at hand. And he throws such a towering rage, he breaks everything in the house. There's nothing remaining on any of the shelves. All her little bags of spices and so on the hanging are just broken. Everything, the doors are broken. Everything is broken, smashed in a towering rage. And Mother Sachi's hiding in one corner, watching this rage. And then Nimai comes out of the house that time, and he's found a stick, and he starts beating the earth. Then he's beating a tree. And then finally he falls in the dust of the earth. And he's hammering the earth in rage. This is to demonstrate to us the immense tolerance and affection of Mother Sachi. She's tolerating all of this so beautifully, because when Nimai finally passes out in the dust, then Mother Yashoda quickly goes and gets some oil and a garland, and she washes his face with a cloth and wipes all the dust off his face. And then Mahaprabhu becomes revived, and Mother Sachi gives him the garland and the oil and says, now you can go. And when he comes back from his bath, she's prepared a whole meal for him. She's begged from the neighbors, and she's cleaned everything and prepared it. This is unbelievable tolerance. She doesn't scold him one time. It's beyond, it's achintya, her tolerance. So this pastime demonstrates that. So Mother Sachi has so much affection for Nimai, and now he's leaving her forever. She knows what this ashram means. It means forever. They give up the ashram. Although it's described that 2 weeks later or 10 days later, Mahaprabhu comes back to Shantipur and stays with Acharya, and all the residents of Navadvip come. Even the dogs come to see Mahaprabhu shaved up of all his hair, except one person doesn't come, Vishnu Priya. She can't come. Mother Sachi goes and cooks for everybody, but Vishnu Priya, she can't go. She can't go. That's completely not allowed, so she doesn't go. So today, actually, the Parikrama party will go to that Dharameshwara, that beautiful deity. It's in Kolodvipa as we come through. They will go and visit there. We'll put a picture on the thread of Dharameshwara. Devotees visit there. But that's the deity that Vishnu Priya worshipped of Mahaprabhu. She had this deity made, beautiful deity. But Mahaprabhu dives into the gut here, Nirdoi gut. And there was a time when our Gurudev, he took the whole Parikrama party in small boats across to one sandbank that had manifested in the middle of the Ganga, that was directly between what is Mayapur now and Navadvip. There was a sandbank manifested. And he brought the whole party across. And he even brought some prasadam across and sat us all down and told us this is the place where Mahaprabhu swam from. It was the actual location of where Mahaprabhu had come into the Ganga. So this pastime at Nirdoy Ghat, no mercy. So this is what we remember when we come to this Ghat. It's a very heart-rendering pastime when Nimai leaves. Westerners have a hard time appreciating this in its depth. Maybe some do, but in Bengali families, they're incredibly close. Most Indian families, they all have extended families. They're all very, very close family units. So for one person to leave like that is a huge thing. But in the Western world, you know, the son can just go and they say, you know, don't bother to come back, more or less. You know, it's like that. It's barbaric. There's no culture. Yes, when you're 18, you can go. There's no culture. But in Indian culture, that family unit is very, very strong. So when the man decides to leave home forever, it's a huge thing. It's a massive thing. So all the family lament, etc. Even though that child is going to become closer to the Supreme Lord and benedict all the family. So this is the pastime that we remember at Nirdoy Ghat. We come to this place and we take bath in the Ganga there. And she's always changing every single year when we go there, because it's cliffs that go down to the bathing place. If you can manage to get down the cliff to the lumps of clay to take a bath. It's not easy taking bath, but most of the devotees take bath there every year. And at this place, we always discuss the 4 sampradayas. This is Rudradvipa. All the sampradaya acharyas, they all came to this place in like apricot lila, we can say, like in their meditation. All of them. Ramanuja, he comes, Ramanuja Acharya. He's instructed by Lord Jagannath, you go to Rudradvipa and you pray for the mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Ramanuja Acharya says, who is Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Never heard of him. So Jagannath Dev, he explains the nature of mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So Ramanuja Acharya, and Jagannath says, you leave all your disciples behind, you just go alone. So he comes alone and he performs tapasya there in Rudradvipa, Ramanuja Acharya. This is in the year, let me see, I've got it written down exactly. In 1017, Ramanuja took his birth in 1017 and left in 1137. So hundreds and hundreds of years ago. How many years is that ago? 1137?
1137?
How many years? 800-900 years ago?
Yeah, 1,000 years ago.
1,000 years ago, approximately 1,000 years ago. Ramanuja Acharya comes to Rudradvipa, which hasn't even manifested at that time. And how would his impression have been of just some location in Bengal? What sort of faith did he demonstrate? Anyway, he meditates on Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu manifests to him and shows him his beautiful, golden, splendid form, which is absolutely heart-melting. And Ramanuja is stunned to see this form. And then Mahaprabhu, he cautions him. He says, to tell nobody about this. I am just showing you how your sampradaya is going to evolve. And I am going to purify all the sampradayas. Mahaprabhu purifies all the sampradayas. So Ramanuja comes here. Madhvacharya comes here. Also, Madhvacharya was 100 years later than Ramanuja. Madhvacharya was in Udupi or Pajaka, a place close by there. And Madhvacharya, I just personally went to Udupi last week. I was there. And it was a very blissful experience for me, going to his home and going to the temple of Balaji that Madhvacharya installed the deity of Balaji when he was given the chunk of Gopi Chandan from the captain of that boat. Madhvacharya is born, we can say, from the potency, strength of Vayudev. Vayudev also is the father of Hanuman and the father of Bhimsen. So these personalities are there within the form of Madhvacharya. Very, very powerful personality. And the pastime is that one captain got his boat caught on a sandbank there. Udupi's right on the beach. And he couldn't get off. And Madhvacharya called him and told him to throw him a rope. And he pulled the whole boat by himself off the sandbank. And the captain felt so indebted, he gave him a huge chunk of Gopi Chandan, tilak. And Madhvacharya, he drops it. And inside the tilak is this beautiful manifested deity of Balagopal. Very, very beautiful deity. Because Madhvacharya was purifying the Mayavad conceptions at that time. Sankaracharya had just been a few hundred years before, for 800 years, there had been the philosophy of Sankaracharya, Advaitavad. It had covered India because Sankaracharya wanted to push out the Lord Buddha wanted to push out the Vedic teachings so that he could establish this philosophy of ahimsa. Because the Brahmanas, they were killing the cows in their sacrifices. Then they were eating them. They were starting to eat the cows. So Lord Buddha advanced to stop this in principle. And in order to do that, all of the Vedic teachings had to be pushed out of India. So Sankaracharya, he expels those teachings into Thailand, Vietnam. And then Sankaracharya, he establishes the same impersonal philosophy, but on the foundation of the Vedic teachings, Aham Brahmasmi, etc. These 4 Mahavakyas he proclaims. This is described in Jayavadana. And he pulls the teachings, the Vedic teachings, back into India. This is what Sankaracharya does. And he establishes again the principle of the potency of the Vedic teachings. But it's all from an impersonal perspective. Although Sankaracharya himself, Lord Shivji, he says at the end of his life, Bhaje Govinda, worship Govinda, worship Govinda. But his disciples, his followers, they're too intent on this impersonal path. So they become completely, and then the whole of India becomes completely, the impersonal path is very attractive if we're not educated in Krishna. For the general mass of people, it's all about you in the Brahman, basically being materially and spiritually self-satisfied and happy. Like the Brahman has no sambandha gyan. There's no subject and object. It's only just you, the jiva, in the Brahman. So the jivas can take to it very easily because ultimately we've just come from that place. We've come from that Brahman. That's where we were manifested by Baladev Prabhu. We're made of this Tatashta energy, but we've come from that Brahman area. And we've come into the body of Mahavishnu, then we've been impregnated into this material world by Shambhu, carried. So this Advaitavad philosophy was prominent. And then Ramanuja, he manifests in 1017. Ram Anuja, the brother of Ram, this is Lakshman, is heading up this sampradaya. This is all explained in this little book here. This is the Sri Lakshmi Sampradaya, is Ramanuja Sampradaya. And as I've just explained, Ramanuja even had darshan of Sachinandan Gaurahari in Rudradvipa to understand what is the complete conclusion of the jiva's welfare, to know about Radha and Krishna's worship. So this is the Sri Lakshmi Sampradaya by Ramanuja. And then straight after him, 100 years later, Madhvacharya manifested. And again, he was fighting the same difficulties with impersonalism and Advaitavadism. Ramanuja, his philosophy was called Vaishisht Advaita. Vaishisht means there's a speciality in the oneness. In other words, it was like a, we can say, soft sell. He wasn't hammering it. He was saying it quite gently. There's a speciality between the Jiva and Krishna. He didn't explain it as being explicitly distinct because it was so fresh and novel coming out of this Advaitavad consciousness. So he made it very a gentle sort of transition. But Madhvacharya, he comes and says, no, it's two. It's the Jiva and it's Krishna. And in order to do that fully, Krishna had to manifest as this beautiful deity to inspire the populace to worship the Murti form. So he gives this Murti form understanding to the whole populace of India. He walks around India twice. And I always had personally the impression that Madhvacharya was very heavy personality, a bit like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, very exacting and strict. But in Udupi and going to his home where he was born, I got the very strong impression he was a very gentle personality. He was a musician. He would compose so many songs and bhajans, very beautiful. And his teachings were opposed to the Smarta Brahmins who were present at that time. And his whole mood was to worship the Lord from your feelings towards the Lord, based on scriptural direction, but engendering that mood of feelings towards Krishna. Whereas the actual people that he was initially trying to convince were Smarta Brahmins based on rules and regulations, all very strict like that. That's how they were behaving in South India. This is how today even they're very much like that. So I've just got this little book that I picked up there. This is, for example, one phrase that he says in his scripture. He says, feeling is more important than ritual. In other words, like Raganuga is more important than Vaidhi Bhakti. So feelings, but feelings in connection with the soul, not feelings in connection with the material body, the subtle body. There's a big distinction there. We have to know those feelings. So he says, feelings are more important than ritual. Feelings unattended by rituals, that means no rituals, are better than rituals unaccompanied by feelings. If you're just doing rituals, but you're not feeling anything, if there's no mood, it's like zero. This is what Vaidhi Bhakti is like. If the Vaidhi Bhakti is not focused on Bhav Bhakti is like the mood, right? So our sadhan bhajan, our Vaidhi bhajan, has to be focused on the Bhav Bhakti. We've said this so many times. Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes completely in that Bhakti Tattva Vivek this point. But Madhvacharya is making this point. This is, Madhvacharya took his birth in 1238. So this is when this mood first manifested that Madhavendra Puripad even picked up, that transferred to Ishwarapuri, that transferred to Mahaprabhu. That seed of Bhav Bhakti would have manifested with Madhvacharya back in 1238. So he was speaking to the whole populace of India. So very, very powerful, influential person. Being physically so strong also, and all his disciples, as described, were also very strong. He would encourage them to develop their physical strengths as well, like he had. But just a very beautiful personality, purifying the ritualistic Smarta Brahmins. That's what he does. That's what Madhvacharya does. That was his contribution to the line. It's interesting, Mahaprabhu, he takes shelter of this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. We are the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So this sampradaya is where Mahaprabhu took shelter of when he presented his teachings, because this sampradaya actually at the time of Mahaprabhu was the most popular. More popular than Vallabha Acharya in the Rudra, more popular than Nimbaditya in the Chatusnan, the four Kumaras, more popular than these two sampradayas. But all these sampradayas, Mahaprabhu took two teachings from each of them. From Ramanuja, he took the teachings of service to the Vaishnavas. This is described in the book here. He took unalloyed bhakti, anyabala satashunyam. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he spent much time studying the Ramanuja texts and found these beautiful expressions of service to the Vaishnavas. And he took those texts and he brought them to his disciples in Bengal at that time. And he wrote, there's a number of books that he's written about the Ramanujas and their teachings, etc. They're very paka in as far as service to the Vaishnavas and unalloyed bhakti. It doesn't talk about Braj Bhakti or Braja Prem, but it's talking about devotion to the personality of Godhead. Because previously that wasn't there. It was just Advaitavad, worship the Brahman. The same as the Devas, they worship the Brahman also. Brihaspati is described as Brahman realized. So it's in line with that. So everyone took to it very easily. But Ramanuja began to chip away at that, and then Madhavacharya made it even more strong. When we see his picture sometimes, it's got the two distinct. And this is called the Dvaitavad, two. Dvaita, there's two. There's the Jiva and Krishna. And then there's the Rudra Sampradaya, which is the Sudadvaita Vad. This is Vallabha Acharya. And this was in 1478. This was later. And then there's Nimbaditya. He was Dvaita Dvaitavad. And then Mahaprabhu took two teachings from that Kumar Sampradaya of the shelter of Sri Radha. He talks about the shelter of Sri Radha, even though Sri Radha had not manifested at that time, but still they were understanding the shelter of Shakti. And he also takes the aspiration for Gopi Prem, but he doesn't understand Parakiya. So this was the Nimbaditya, which is close to our line today. But Mahaprabhu, he purified all four of these sampradayas. He purified them in three respects, we can say. First of all, these sampradayas were discussing and debating about, is the jiva God or is he not God? Sankaracharya had said, yes, the jiva is God. That's Advaitavad. And then the acharyas are saying, no, he's not God. He's a servant of God. But Mahaprabhu, he gave the essential link, Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva. You are God at the same time as you're not. You're a part and parcel, just like you take the spoonful of water from the ocean. What is in the spoon is the same as the ocean. So we are the same constitution as that supreme energetic Lord. But in quantity, we are absolutely infinitesimal, tiny, tiny, tiny. So Mahaprabhu, he purified that debate or that philosophy by the philosophy of Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. He also purified the second misconception, which is called Vastu Parinamvad. Vastu means that Vastu is that Supreme Krishna. The Supreme Lord has manifested all these worlds. Mahaprabhu was saying, no, it's not Krishna who's done this. It's Shakti who has done this. It's Swarup Shakti. Everything is everything in existence is manifesting from Swarup Shakti. If we read the 14th chapter of Jaiva it's very, very clear there. Krishna is Icha Mayata and Swatantra Mayata. This is all Krishna is. He's completely independent and he has complete freedom. That's his individual speciality. But as far as any of the creation is concerned, it's all manifesting from his energetic aspect of Swarup Shakti. So Mahaprabhu, he purifies all these sampradayas and says it's Shakti Parinama. Parinam means transforming. So Shakti is transforming into all the worlds, not Krishna. There's a big difference, really. None of the Sampradayas had Shakti Parinam. They all had Vastu Parinam. This is Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Vallabha Acharya, and Nimbaditya. They all had Vastu Parinam. And also Mahaprabhu, he brought the resolution about Parakya Bhav. These three principles, he brought this into the Sampradayas to understand clearly. Without Mahaprabhu, the Sampradaya we have today would not be complete. We have to really appreciate that. And this is all spoken about and heard in Rudradvipa, because all these Sampradaya Acharyas, they all came to Rudradvipa. And Mahaprabhu, he purified all those personalities. But those personalities couldn't put these teachings into the world without the potency of the Lord himself. It's Mahaprabhu himself, the Supreme Lord, who is able to actually put these teachings fully into the world. So we remember these Sampradayas. If you have this little booklet, it's very helpful. This booklet is just made up of the essence from the larger Parikrama book of my Gurudev. This is the Navadvip Parikrama book, and this is just made up of the notes from there, basically. So you get the essence of this in this little book. It's very helpful. So we've covered everything today. So it was a short day today. It's usually short on Ekadashi, because Ekadashi is considered not being favorable for lots of external activities so much, more for meditation. So we can meditate on Devananda Mat that we described, and Yoga Maya is a beautiful meditation today, and then Jagannath Das Babaji, and then Nirdoy Ghat, and then the Sampradaya Dara, the lines of our Sampradaya. So all these truths we cover today, very beautiful, beautiful truths in our line. So Navadvip Dham Parikrama ki jai, Kolodvipa ki jai, Rudradvipa ki jai, Anantakoda Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Sachinandam Gaur Hari ki jai, Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Go! Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Gaur Premanande. Hari Bol.